You ever wonder what it feels like to be discarded? To be the last option? To be that afterthought that everyone just hopes will vanish? Well, let me tell you something about that. They thought you'd fail, didn't they? Oh, they thought they had it all figured out. The ones who walked away. The ones who turned their backs. They watched you stumble, waiting for you to stay down, waiting for you to fail. But you didn't. They thought the world would break you, thought the lies, the betrayal, the rejection, that it would ruin you. And for a moment, yeah, maybe you felt that weight, felt the sting of it all. But here's the cold truth they never saw coming. They underestimated you. They were wrong. You see, failure? That's what they hoped for, what they prayed for. The ones who left you to pick up the pieces of what they broke. They wanted you to fail. And they're gonna regret it, because you didn't fail. You're standing right here, aren't you? Oh, I know the pain you felt, the sting of being betrayed, the loneliness that wraps around you like a suffocating blanket. They took your trust, didn't they? They promised, and they broke it. They smiled, and they turned their backs. When you needed them the most, when you were vulnerable, they walked away, left you hanging, threw you into the darkness like you meant nothing. And don't let anyone tell you that pain is just a bump in the road. It's not. It cuts deep. It makes you question everything, your worth, your ability to trust. But here's the thing, that pain doesn't define you. No, it doesn't. You've been through hell, but guess what? Hell didn't burn you. It shaped you. That rejection, it didn't kill you. It made you stronger. They wanted you to believe you were weak, to think you couldn't make it. But they were wrong. Every single one of them was wrong. That failure they expected, that rejection they thought would be your end. Nah, that was never the end of your story. It was just the beginning. And don't you forget that. Listen, I've been there. I felt the coldness of rejection, the sharp pain of betrayal, the feeling that you've given everything, and yet you're still left standing alone in the dark. You know what that's like? I do. The loneliness, the self-doubt, the pain that seems like it'll swallow you whole. I've lived it. And here's the thing, they didn't know you. They didn't understand who you were. They didn't see the fire that was waiting to rise from the ashes. They saw a broken soul, but they missed the strength you were building, piece by piece. They saw a failure, but they didn't see the fight. They couldn't see that you were more than just the pieces they thought they'd broken. You were never their failure. You were just waiting for the moment they'd regret walking away. And that's where we flip the script, my friend. Because here's the shift you've been waiting for. They thought that moment, the one where they abandoned you, where they thought you'd crumble, that was the end of your journey, wasn't it? But no. That's when your true journey began. That was the moment you decided to rise. That moment of rejection, that was your wake-up call. The moment they thought they were winning, that was when you started taking your first steps towards victory. You've been through enough pain, you've carried enough weight. But now the weight shifts. Now the pain is your fuel. And those expectations they had, those little lies they fed you, you've shattered them. So yeah, they thought you'd fail. But let me tell you this, they were wrong. You know what they thought, don't you? They thought they had you figured out. They thought they knew your every move, your every reaction. They looked at you maybe with pity, maybe with disdain, and they thought, I know exactly how this will go. They thought they understood your limits, where you'd break, where you'd fall apart. They thought they knew how far they could push you, and they were wrong. They had their little game plan, didn't they? Every move calculated, every expectation set. They thought they could control it. They thought you were just a piece on their chessboard, something to move around, something to discard when it no longer suited their need. They were just waiting for you to break. But here's the thing, they didn't break you. No, they thought they had you figured out, but they didn't even see what was coming. The truth is, they were never in control of the game. You were. They watched you, hoping you'd collapse, expecting you to stay down. But the joke's on them, because they didn't realize the real strength you were building. They didn't see the resilience in your silence. They didn't realize that every punch they threw was just teaching you how to dodge, how to rise, how to build a strength that no one could ever take away. Let's talk about betrayal. Let's talk about how it feels to give everything, to sacrifice your time, your energy, your heart, and then be tossed aside like you meant nothing. How does that feel, huh? They took from you. They took your trust. They took your loyalty. They took your love. And what did they give you in return? Nothing. You showed up when they didn't ask. You fought when they thought you couldn't. You cared when they couldn't be bothered. You believed in them, believed that they'd be there when you needed them. And what happened? They turned their backs on you when you needed them the most. When you were at your weakest, when you were crumbling beneath the weight of everything. They didn't see it as an opportunity to help. They saw it as an opportunity to walk away, to leave you abandoned, stranded, alone. But here's the ugly truth, that wasn't your failure. That was theirs. They couldn't see your worth. They couldn't appreciate what you were giving because they were too wrapped up in their own ego, too blinded by their own arrogance. And they thought that rejection would break you. They thought that by leaving you, they were making themselves stronger. But they didn't see the storm they were creating. They didn't know that every ounce of pain, every drop of disappointment was forging something inside you, something they would never understand. Let's take a moment to look at their arrogance. The ones who thought they were untouchable, the ones who thought they could do no wrong. They treated you like you were nothing. They thought they were kings of their little kingdoms. And you were just a pawn in their game. You weren't even worth their attention. They were too busy looking at themselves, too consumed with their own inflated sense of superiority to even notice the power they were ignoring. They thought they had all the power. But power doesn't come from arrogance. Power comes from something real. And arrogance is fragile. The thing is, they didn't see you coming. Not a single one of them. They were so caught up in their own egos, so consumed by their own self-importance, they didn't notice you quietly becoming something they could never even comprehend. They didn't see you transforming from the person they thought they knew into something stronger, something more dangerous. And when that storm finally hit, when you rose above them, above their expectations, above their arrogance, they had no idea what hit them, what they never saw. You were quietly becoming the force they couldn't reckon with. They never understood the depth of your pain. They never realized that the weight they threw on your shoulders wasn't crushing you, it was building you. They thought you were weak. They thought you were broken. But what they never saw, every moment of pain, every rejection, every betrayal, they were all just building blocks. You've always had strength, but they couldn't see it. They only saw the cracks. They only saw the surface. They didn't look deeper. You didn't break. You didn't crumble. Instead, you grew. You turned the pain into fire, the hurt into determination. While they were busy looking down on you, you were quietly turning into something they could never have prepared for. And now, they won't even recognize you. What they didn't understand, what they couldn't possibly have known, is that you were never their pawn. No, you were always the king, the queen. And now you're about to show them just how dangerous it is to underestimate someone who's been underestimated their whole life. They wanted you to break. But instead, you're the one who'll be doing the breaking. You think they had you figured out, don't you? They thought they had you beat, didn't they? Thought they could throw you into the fire and watch you burn. They watched you stumble. They watched you struggle. And with every fall, they thought they'd won. Every failure, every misstep, every time you were knocked down, they thought that was the end. But here's the twist. My friend, you weren't falling. No, you were rising. You didn't realize it then, did you? How every scrape, every bruise, every tear wasn't breaking you, it was shaping you. You were never the weak one in this game. You were never the one who was truly down. The world saw you as fragile, but what they couldn't see, what they didn't understand, was that those struggles were your forge. Those moments of pain, of rejection, of loneliness, they were the very things that turned you into what you are now. They wanted you to crumble under the pressure. They thought you'd break. They wanted to see you fall apart. But that pain, you didn't let it defeat you. You let it fuel you. And now, you're not just standing. You're towering. You're stronger, sharper, more dangerous than they ever could have imagined. Every scar is a testament. Every moment you thought you couldn't go on, that's your power. That's your foundation. They thought they were destroying you, but all they were doing was making you indestructible. Here's something they didn't understand: the power in silence. The strength that's built in the quiet moments. The ones when no one is watching. The ones when the world has forgotten you. They were all too busy shouting, too busy running their mouths, believing their own hype. But while they were making noise, you were working. You were the one who stayed in the shadows. The one who kept your head down while they were busy building castles out of lies. You were building something stronger, something that would last. Every small step you took, every little victory, no one saw it coming. The world overlooked you. They underestimated you. They couldn't see what you were building, what you were becoming. And maybe, just maybe, that was the secret to your success. Because while they were playing games, you were working. While they were pretending to be something they weren't, you were becoming everything they could never be. They thought you were weak, but you were quietly becoming a force they would never be able to stop. The world's expectations were never your reality. Your reality was the quiet power you were amassing. You were silently constructing your empire. You didn't need validation. You didn't need applause. You didn't need their recognition. You knew what you were capable of. And now, as they scream about their successes, as they parade their arrogance, they'll find out the hard way you've already won. Let's talk about transformation. Let's talk about how you went from being their target, the one they thought they could break, the one they wanted to see crushed, to becoming their greatest nightmare. You remember those times, don't you? When they pushed you, ridiculed you, left you for dead. They thought they could take you down, thought they could break you, thought they had you figured out. But every time they tried to knock you down, they just made you stronger. What they didn't understand was that you were never just the victim in their story. No, you were always the hero in yours. And now, you're more than a hero. You're the villain in theirs. You've become the thing they feared, the thing they didn't see coming. They thought they were playing a game with you, but the truth is, you were always playing them. Every move they made to try and keep you down, it was just another step in your evolution. While they thought they were crushing you, they were only pushing you towards something greater, something unstoppable. They wanted you to stay down. They wanted to see you fail. But you weren't just surviving. You were growing. You were learning. You were evolving. And when the time came for you to rise, you didn't just rise, you soared. And every one of them, those who turned their backs, those who laughed at you, they didn't even know what hit them. They wanted to destroy you, and all they did was create a force more powerful than they could have ever imagined. They wanted you to be a cautionary tale. What they got instead was a legend. Now, let's talk about the most important realization of all your worth. It's time you saw it, really saw it. It's time you realized that all that pain, all that suffering, all that rejection, it wasn't a punishment. It wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a lesson. Every failure they threw your way, every time they told you that you weren't enough, every time they looked at you like you didn't matter, that was just their ignorance. They couldn't see the value in you. They couldn't see your potential. And that's on them, not you, but you. You see it now. You see the strength that was inside you all along. You see the power that was forged in the fire of every challenge you faced. They couldn't break you because you were never meant to be broken. You were meant to be reborn. You were meant to rise again and again from the ashes of every attempt they made to bury you. You were never their victim. You were always the blueprint. And now you're not just a person they can ignore. You're the person they'll never be able to erase. You've already won. Not in the way they expected, not in the way they imagined, but in a way they'll never see coming. You are the embodiment of everything they hoped you would never become. You're the force that will haunt their every step. Let's get one thing straight right now. They thought they had you trapped. They thought they had you in a corner, backed into a place where you'd never escape. They thought you needed them. They thought you needed their approval, their recognition, their validation. But here's the truth they'll never see coming. You don't need anyone. You've been lied to, manipulated, used, and they thought that would break you. They thought their control over you would be the chains that kept you down. But what they didn't understand is that the chains they put on you were never meant to bind you. No, those chains were the very things that made you stronger. Every time they pulled you back, every time they tried to hold you down, you just grew more powerful. You don't need their approval. You don't need their acceptance. You've always had what you needed inside you. You have all the power you'll ever need right here, right now. Everything you need to take control of your future is in your hands. The ball is in your court. They thought they could stop you. They thought they could hold you back. But now, you're free. You're free to create your future. Free to define your own path. Free to be everything they never thought you could be. And the best part, you're going to do it without them. You don't need them to succeed. You don't need anyone to prove your worth. You've already proven it to yourself. Now, it's time to show the world. Let's talk about the pain. All that hurt they caused. All the rejection. All the lies. All the times they left you for dead. Don't run from it. Don't pretend it didn't happen. Embrace it. You see, every tear you shed, every sleepless night, every time you thought you couldn't go on, they gave you a gift. You might not see it now, but each of those moments, each of those struggles, they gave you everything you need to rise higher than they'll ever go. All that pain, that anger, that frustration, it's not something you have to bury. No, it's the fuel you need to soar. They thought they were breaking you, but every time they knocked you down, they were just adding another log to your fire. And now you've got the kind of power they could never imagine. Your pain has turned into your weapon. Your anger, it's your drive. Your scars, they're the marks of a warrior. You don't need to run from those scars. You need to wear them like a badge of honor. Every time they hurt you, every time they made you feel small, they handed you another tool to build your empire. Now, take those tools and build something unstoppable. But here's the thing. This isn't about recklessness. This isn't about running in blind rage. This is about purpose. This is about calculated, deliberate action. You've got the power now, but it's how you use it that counts. Every step you take from now on, it's got to be intentional. You're not here to prove them wrong. You're here to prove yourself right. You're not doing this for their recognition. You're not doing this for their approval. You're doing this because you know who you are. You know what you're capable of. And you know what you're capable of. And you know what happens when you set your sights on something and you go after it relentlessly, without hesitation. So, what's next? Take the time to plan. Take the time to strategize. Don't rush this. You've already had enough of rushing, of being pushed around. Now, it's time to move with purpose. Every action you take should be calculated. Every decision you make should be made with one thing in mind: your success. You've spent enough time waiting for the world to recognize your worth. Now, you're going to make the world take notice. And when you do, they won't have a choice but to bow to your power. Now let's address something important. This isn't about revenge. You're not here to settle scores. You're not here to get even. If you focus on revenge, you'll be stuck in their world. You'll be playing their game. And we both know you're better than that. This is about something much bigger than that. This is about building something so powerful, so untouchable, that they'll never be able to touch it. They wanted to see you fail. They wanted to see you fall apart. But now, instead of falling, you're rising higher than they ever thought possible. And when you rise, you're going to build something so great that no one can ever tear it down. Not them, not anyone. You're going to build a legacy that's stronger than anything they could ever take from you. So, let them have their petty victories, their hollow triumphs. Let them think they're on top. Because when they look back, when they see what you've become, they won't even recognize you. And by then, it won't matter. You'll be too far gone, too far ahead of them. Your victory is going to be so much bigger than their defeat. your success. It's going to echo long after their arrogance fades, and you'll stand there in the ashes of their pride, knowing that you didn't just survive, you thrived. They thought they had it all figured out, didn't they? They thought they could break you, bend you, mold you into something smaller, something easier to control. They thought that every rejection, every betrayal, every moment they tried to silence you would be the final blow, the end of the road. But now, you're the one calling the shots. They're nothing but dust in your rear view, and when they look at you, all they'll see is a figure they never imagined, a force of nature that refuses to be stopped. You're not some shattered soul lying in the dirt, waiting for their pity. No, you've risen. And the thing is, they never saw it coming. They thought they had the advantage. They thought they knew you. But while they were busy laughing at your struggle, you were building something they could never touch. You were creating a future that's too bright for their dim expectations to even comprehend. You know what happens when people underestimate you? You rise above them. You rise above their expectations. And you do it with the kind of power they can never match. They thought they could watch you fail, but instead, they're going to watch you take off like a rocket, flying higher than they'll ever be able to reach. They thought they could bury you under their doubts, their lies, their betrayal. But you just used it all as fuel, and now you're burning brighter than the very world that tried to snuff you out. Every insult, every moment of doubt, they've all led to this. The moment when you prove that no one, not them, not anyone can stop you. You were never the one who was broken. You were the one who was built. And when you rise to the heights you're destined for, they'll look up and wonder how they ever thought they could hold you down. Oh, they're going to regret it. They'll see you rise, watch as you pass them by, and they won't even recognize who you've become. The version of you they thought they could ignore, dismiss, and discard, that version's gone. In its place is someone they can't touch, someone they can't even begin to comprehend. They'll be sitting on the sidelines, watching, wishing they'd never doubted you. But guess what? It won't matter, because you won't be looking back. You won't be reaching out to them for validation. No, the moment you step into your power, the moment you claim what's yours, you'll leave them behind. And no amount of regret will change the fact that they missed their chance. They'll look at you, and for the first time they'll realize they were wrong. So wrong. But by then, it'll be too late. They'll try to crawl back, but you'll be too far ahead, too far out of reach. They'll try to tell themselves that they were just testing you. They'll tell themselves that they never meant to hurt you. But deep down, they'll know they should have never doubted you. And you'll stand there, above it all, knowing that you didn't just prove them wrong. You transcended them. You outgrew them. You became the thing they could never be. Unstoppable. While they're still sitting there, regretting their decisions, you'll be living a life they can only dream of. You'll have achieved the success they never thought you could, and you'll do it on your own terms. They'll never be able to catch up, because they didn't have the courage to bet on you when it mattered. So let them regret it. Let them fumble over their pride, their egos, their assumptions, because you're already too far gone. What you've built, it's untouchable. It's bulletproof. You didn't just build this from nothing, you built it from the lessons you learned in the darkest moments of your life. Every betrayal, every moment of doubt, every person who thought you wouldn't make it. All of that? That's the foundation of your empire. They thought their insults and their rejection could break you. They thought the pain would consume you. But you took all that and transformed it into the most solid, unshakable foundation they'll ever see. You didn't just survive the storm, you became the storm. Now, you're the one calling the shots. You're the one running the game. And the empire you've built, the one they thought would never be possible, has already started to grow. It's expanding, reaching heights they never dreamed of. And the best part, they can't touch it. You didn't just create something out of thin air. You created it out of your blood, sweat, and tears. Every setback, every moment they thought you were done, that's what made you strong. And now that empire, it's a testament to everything you've overcome. It's a fortress of your own making, and nothing they do can tear it down. And when they see you, when they see what you've created, they'll know. They'll know that they could never touch this. They could never break you. What you've built isn't just a career. It's a legacy. It's an untouchable empire that can withstand anything. You've made something from the ashes, something more powerful than anything they could ever destroy. And now, as you rise, they'll be left behind in the dust, wondering how they ever thought they could control you.